to that scheme, and we'll have a much better level of funding than we've had up until now. That started just a few days ago in the beginning of July, and it'll be wheeled out over the next 3 years. So I've got one of our providers for housing in the room at the moment, and the initial plan is to have at least another 10 houses, but it'll pay all sorts of other supports for our people to live an ordinary life. Now, the third thing is we're going to have to reinvent our associations in Australia. We've got 3 state ones, some other state ones that are nearly floundering, and a national one, but we need to reinvent it so that the national organisation can provide the same services right across Australia, so that you don't need to have postcode shopping for the services that our national association will offer. If we do that, we should be able to get funding from the new National Disability Insurance Scheme, because that's 3 tiers of funding, and one funding is for organisations like ours. So why am I seeking your support to stand for IPWSO? Well, obviously those 2, if not 3 of those aims are very ambitious, and I recognise that Australia will need all of you. Australia will need the international community to help us achieve those. So then what can we give in return? Well, you know, right at the moment, I'm not too sure. But I feel certain that if we share the learnings that we gain around developing a new national disability insurance scheme, around implementing a new national, implementing a national disability insurance scheme, developing newborn blood spot screening, and restructuring our associations more or less like a greenfield site. Even that last one we'll be able to use in other countries probably. So it's those learnings that I hope will eventually be of value to you all in the countries going forward.
I'm going to ask all the people who are up for a board position in the coming term to step out into the hallway for a few moments so that we can have a discussion and a vote. I want to mention while they're moving out that we have a maximum of 10 positions on the board. We've had 9 people in the last term, and actually I felt the lack of the 10th person because there was so many things we were doing, and it always helps to have a few people on a committee to work together rather than giving an assignment to just one person. And the way you may realize that what these 10 people that you've just heard from, it's half parents and half professionals, with 2 new professionals coming onto the board, Tony Holland and Marilyn Dumont Driscoll, and we already had 3 in the old board, previous, I won't say old, previous board members, so that makes a total of 5 professionals and 5 parents, all the professionals being very experienced with people with Prader-Willi syndrome. Okay, everybody has stepped out. I want to know if there's any, we're going to take a vote, and we're going to use a raise of hands, and 1 hand per country that has paid up. So you have to have an official membership, the list that we read out, in order to vote. But I wanted to see if there were any comments or questions about the process or the individuals or who we've selected. You vote for everybody. It's a slate that has been proposed. So you can vote for the slate or against the slate if you think 1 or more individuals should not be elected. Does that make sense? I think that's how it goes, right?
If anybody
Right, but nominations from the floor, they don't have their recommendation from their association, they haven't had an interview. That's why we haven't encouraged nominations from the floor, because there's so much less that you would know about an individual who's nominated from the floor. However, that's a possibility. You just heard from our legal advisor. David Gordon is an attorney, so. Any comments, questions, discussion? All those who are in favor of electing the individuals that you've just heard from to the new board for IPSO, please raise your hand. No, you have to stay out. What? Oh, yes, you have a proxy, that's right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, so let me try that again. All those who are in favor of accepting the proposed slate of 10 individuals for the next board, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Yay! Okay, somebody can tell them to come back in.
Al, would you go tell him to come in?
Great. Now let's see if I still have an agenda here somewhere. There is nothing on the agenda for appointing auditor. Oh, that has to be elected? By this meeting? Oh. Well, I just learned something new. IPSO has 2 auditors. Oh, congratulations to all of you, by the way. I've just learned that we also need to appoint another auditor. So we had 2 people who just got elected who were holding positions that need to be replaced. And one of those 2 is done at this meeting, I just learned, and that is our auditor. We have, IPSO has 2 auditors. They also receive the monthly reports of the finances and check to make sure that the books are being kept properly. And at and once a year they make a report that goes into the annual report. And the other thing that they do is provide the president with a list of those countries whose memberships are paid up, so that we know how many people, how many official members there are in IPSO, and so that we can determine if there is a quorum here, which we need in order to be officially electing the new board members and conducting other business. So Gerard Mayward has been one of the auditors for a number of years, and the other auditor was Verena Gutmann, who is now a board member and cannot also be an auditor. Fortunately, we have someone who has volunteered to be an auditor. He's a banker, so presumably is qualified, and that's Mr. Jim Gardner, who is there in the back of the room with the donation container. I have to do a formal vote. Okay, all those who would be in favor of appointing Jim Gardner, do you need to know anything more? David, tell me. Yeah, okay. So all those who would be in favor of having Jim Gardner be the second auditor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Any opposed? Okay. Because if you're opposed, you have to be the auditor. That's not true. That was a joke. I've lost my agenda. It should be up here. It should be up here. Here it is. Okay, so the next and very important thing, and something else that has to happen by election, is to select the location for the next conference. And what we do is we send out a notice well in advance of this meeting that we are looking for bids to to host the next conference. The host country does a lot of the on-the-ground work. IPSO contributes as much as is needed to helping with the organization. When I say contribute, I'm talking about work as opposed to money, although IPSO will help if they can afford it. But the host country makes a proposal at this meeting to host the conference and works with IPSO to put on a conference that is valuable to the people who attend, who are you and the others we've seen in the last few days. We only received one bid this time. 3 years ago, we had two countries bidding, but this year we've only received one bid, and that is from Cuba, and they will give you a presentation of what they propose for the meeting so that you can see if it looks like an appropriate place for the conference. And with that, I turn the meeting over to Lois Albello, Uloa, and Marlene. Oh, sorry.
As you can see, here we are again. And I want to introduce myself. My name is Marlene Roman Garcia. I am Gabriela's mommy, a girl with 11 years old, and of course, she has Prader-Willi syndrome. I would be glad that our country could host the 10th International Prader-Willi Syndrome Conference. Our family is very lucky because Gabriela was born in a home with a physician father and a mother specialized in inclusive education. However, we have sometimes faced adversity. Moreover, getting to know different families who didn't have the opportunity, we got inspired to improve the situation and help them. Hosting an international conference is the greatest opportunity for a Cuban family to share experience, emotions, and wishes. Now, you will get to know better the project, and thank you to make it possible, and see you on Cuba 2019.
Now, I'm going to give a little introduction to the story of the Cuban family group. In 2004, Gabriela was born in Ciego de Ávila in Cuba. Although we only had a clinical diagnosis, we contacted Fernando and Reyes from the Prader-Willi Foundation in Spain, and it was the beginning of a long-lasting friendship and collaboration.
Can you hear? Yeah. Speak a little louder.
A few years later, in 2009, we got a genetic diagnosis by birth. Right after that, we got in touch with the IPSO through Giorgio, and meeting Giorgio was a very important step to keep learning about Prader-Willi syndrome and the importance of the international relationships when it comes to a rare syndrome as Prader-Willi. This brought up the opportunity to attend the 7th International Conference in Taiwan. That would have never been possible without the support of many different agents, such as IPSO, IPWSO Taiwan, among others. Attending the conference was a turning point because we started to have enough information to help families around the country with diagnosis, management, and education. It had such a great impact that only 4 months later, we organized the first event for Cuban parents. This event gathered together 6 families and some professionals. However, the impact of the international contacts goes much farther. Since 2010, we have been regularly supported by IPWSO USA, who send us educational and research materials in both English and Spanish. After 2 years of hard work, in 2012, we hosted our second national workshop, the first one with international speakers. 15 families and 65 people participated in this event. It was a great success. In 2013, for the first time, we hosted an event where people with Prader-Willi syndrome and their families were invited to join us for a 3-day event in Ciego de Ávila. For many families, this was the first time separating from their kids. They were attending the ROR program now. Nevertheless, everyone enjoyed the experience and they're waiting for more. On that event, we released the documentary Breaking the Silence during the artistic gala celebrated at the main theater in Ciego de Ávila. The documentary has more than 1,000 viewers in YouTube and has been broadcasted by local televisions on several regions. After that, we're hungry for more. We are currently working on spreading awareness of Prader-Willi syndrome. We participate as speakers in events with the National Health System and Socugen around the country. We are also working with Caritas Cubana in the program Learning to Grow that supports people with disabilities and their families. We are also involved with different universities in both graduate and summer programs in inclusive education, speech therapy, and psychology. Through all that, we have developed a great network of professionals, and we have identified different new families around the country whose life is already changing thanks to the knowledge and resources now available. Now, we would like to share some of the work that we have been doing. All this work would have never been possible without all the hard work of the global Prader-Willi syndrome community, their support and dedication. We believe that the Cuban community represents sustainability and hope in happier and healthier lives. Cubans enjoy the salsa dancing, revolving, laughing, and sharing, and they are looking forward to celebrating Christmas.
Ser aquello que tú quieras ser. Tú puedes ser el sueño que soñaste ayer. Tú puedes ser la estrella que brillando ves. Tú lo decides. Tú puedes ir tan alto como quieras ir. Tú puedes alcanzar lo que hay dentro de ti. Tú puedes ser todo eso que te hace feliz. Tú lo decides.
So, where are we? The Republic of Cuba is located at the entrance of the Gulf of Mexico, and its nearest neighbors are Haiti to the east, the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico to the west, Florida, USA to the north, and Jamaica to the south. The Cuban island is the biggest one in the Caribbean Sea. It has many beautiful beaches and caves, and those areas are easily enjoyable in a tropical climate. It is inhabited by a very diverse population who share Spanish as official language and have a very rich culture and traditions. Cojimar, located in La Habana, is a fishing village famous by its beautiful sightseeing and paradisaic sea. It has a complete tourist complex, the Villa Panamericana, with hotels, residences, shops, restaurants, and facilities. The conference would take place in October 2009 in the Convention Center and Academic Services in Kohima, Havana.
2019.
Yeah, 2019. Sorry. The conference would be organized by a team and would come with a scientific committee, a caregivers committee, and a family committee. Every committee will be co-chaired by an appointed member of the Cuban community and one from the IPWSO and their advisors team. 2 Cuban organizations will be working closely with us throughout the conference. SOCUGEN is the Cuban Society of Human Genetics, from which we will be counting with the unparalleled support of Dr. Beatriz Marcheco, its president. Caritas Cubana provides support for families and people at risk in Cuba and has been collaborating with us since the beginning of the project in 2010. We will be meeting at the Convention Center and Academic Services that has enough facilities to accommodate all different conferences and programs. The program for people with Prader-Willi syndrome and youth friends would run activities on parallel hours to the family conference for children and grown-ups separately. Participants would enjoy leisure activities such as visiting the National Aquarium, arts and crafts, sports, etc. A trained group of volunteers will assist participants, and the Prader-Willi Foundation in Spain will support in the design of the activities. The social program would help participants to immerse in the Cuban culture and traditions, starting with a welcome reception to taste our delicious traditional food and closing with an amazing gala dinner with live traditional music. In the evenings, we would also find time to visit places of tourist interest, such as the National Museum of Cuban Art or the cultural show at the Karl Marx. And, of course, we will get to enjoy some salsa dancing. How are we gonna make it? SOCUGEN and Caritas Cubana will support the participation of Cuban professionals and families. Sponsors and organizations will work on guaranteeing an affordable event for people all over the world. Of course, we welcome any additional support to make it not only possible, but even greater. We suggest different options to accommodate everyone's need. The hotels contacted range from $30 a night to $150 a night, but the area has many different options to make everyone happy and comfortable.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Laisel, Gabriela's father. I'm here representing the Cuban family with children with IPWSO group. It is a pleasure to invite you all to our beautiful island. We would love to share with you our experience and our hopes for the future. We would also love to learn from all of who have longer experience. Nevertheless, we believe that Cuba can serve as an inspiration for those starting to work with the syndrome. Also, as a physician, I would like to invite my colleagues from all over the world to come and to share their research in Cuba. Finally, we ask you to trust this exciting project and to come work and celebrate with us in 2019. Thank you very much. And now let me show you how wonderful our country is.
Cuba has a tropical climate and is almost always hot. Safety and security of tourists and overseas visitors is very high. With its favorable climate, beaches, colonial architecture, and cultural history, it is easily reachable by plane from many different destinations. Cuba has long been an attractive destination for tourists all over the world.
De Cuba te traigo un sol.
Wow, okay. Now we're going to open to questions. Do you have any questions about Cuba as a site? Do you have any comments that you need to make? Do you have any concerns? Please express them now, and then we'll have a vote.
Maybe I can.
Yeah.
Just so you know, because Cuba, Prader-Willi is just developing, I feel like they've got strong support. On the other hand, PWSA USA has committed that if for some reason throughout this 3-year process that would fall through, that we have a major national conference that time, and we would create it into an international conference. So, of course, we all want to go to Cuba and we want it to be there, but just so you know, that is a potential emergency backup plan, that there is that option.
Yes? I'd like to move approval. All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve going to Cuba for the IPSO conference in 2019. One vote per country, please raise your hand. Well, are there more questions? There haven't been any questions. Do you have a question?
What's the date again in 2019 and what's the
October.
weather? It's October.
Yeah.
El tiempo. The weather in my country in October is like here. It's the same now here. We don't have many hot, and we don't have winter. It's like here now. See, you can walk for the tree. You can visit some place.
No hurricane.
No. En casos de huracán,
Well, in case of a hurricane,
tenemos un sistema civil de protección para la población y para los turistas
there's
¿Qué?
a civil protection system for the population and for the tourists
con muchos años de experiencia
with many years of experience,
y nunca ha pasado nada.
and nothing bad ever happened.
Right. Jana Lee raised the question there that the meeting will be, as usual, held in English but translated in Spanish, or how will that language be worked?
Trabajaremos fuerte para lograr que nuestra comunidad latina logre asimilar la mayor cantidad de información en inglés.
Well, the meeting will obviously be in English, and we will do our best to have it translated into Spanish.
Other questions, comments? Yes?
Is it for all IPSO nations possible to have the allowance to enter
Sí.
Would you repeat the question?
The question was, is there any concern about certain countries not being able to enter into Cuba?
Este año Cuba aumentó un 18% del turismo.
Right now, there's no issues. This year, tourism in Cuba rose an 18%.
Porque estamos abiertos a todo el mundo. Pueden entrar y salir sin problema.
Because right now it's open to the whole world.
And how close is the host city to Havana?
¿Cómo cerca está Cojimar
Convention Center.
a La Habana?
Cojima pertenece a La Habana y los hoteles van a estar cerca de la conferencia.
Cojimar is inside Havana, and the hotels are close to the conference place.
Is that venue of similar size for past conferences for 450 people and 120 in the restaurant? Is that comparable to what we've had before?
No, she's gonna.
Pero de hospedaje o para la...
En el sitio de la conferencia.
Tenemos previsto este local. Habría que ver cuántas personas van a estar dispuestas a participar.
The place we're actually looking at now is not as big as this one, but it would be big enough to host something similar to this one.
El salón principal, sí.
The main room is for 450 people, but there are other rooms to host parallel sessions.
And have international conferences been held there in the past?
Yes, of course.
I knew this.
She wants to do it.
I don't know if other people here, but I have been to Cuba to a conference, and they can do this and more. It was a conference that was for linguistics, but I think they can do it.
Okay, good.
Eh,
Fernando, did you have a no? Yes.
Janely tiene la experiencia de un psicólogo que trabaja con la asociación, que estuvo en Cuba en un evento hace poco y le puede dar más información.
Janely also has the experience of meeting someone who was in a conference on Cuba not long ago, a psychologist.
You've also had experience, you've met someone who's been to a conference in Cuba? Yes, yes.
I know we hear the stories about the poverty and the way a lot of people live there, but when it comes to major medical conferences, they're very geared towards that. They're very focused on bringing people in and doing pretty major conferences from what I know. So, yeah, I think we have to separate the realities of everyday life with most people in Cuba from the fact that they like hosting major conferences and major groups there. Is that correct, Luisa?
Okay, other comments, questions? Please, one hand per country. We're going to call the question. Would you like to have the conference in 2019 hosted in Cuba? If yes, raise your hand. If no, raise your hand. Well, it's unanimous. We're going to Cuba. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I add something? Because, you see, one of the problems we have, we are represented in 104 countries. The majority of our countries are members, those who need our services and to know more about Prader-Willi cannot afford conferences like this or like the previous ones. In Cuba, they can offer a range of hotels that can meet any need of people. And the other thing that we experiment flying there from Europe, there are a lot of charter flights from Europe, South America, and North America, especially from Canada, which is the major tourism flooding the island. And so, and the price is affordable, especially even for poor country. If I'm thinking especially about Latin America, because they have the opportunity for the first time to have an international conference in Latin America, and they understand what the speakers say, because it will be in Spanish too. This is important. And there are flights from Argentina, from Brazil, from probably also from Colombia. So this is a great opportunity that we can offer to people who usually cannot afford to participate to an international event.
Wonderful, thank you, Giorgio. So we're almost finished. I want to see if there's any other business that anybody wants to raise, and then I have a couple of presentations, and we're done.
Can you please get the medical delegates not to tell us not to smoke cigars when we go to
You know. But
smoke cigars? No, then you just put a dampening on our whole. Have another vote?
Okay, thank you. We have, besides myself, 3 people who are rotating off the board, and I want to tell you that they have all been extraordinary, have contributed in major ways, and I have a little award to recognize that. First, Don Talon has served as our treasurer. It's a constant job. He's also contributed a lot of information about registering our organization and about fundraising. And we're sorry to see you go, but we're very grateful for the work you've done with us. Jackie Waters has, I don't know how IPSO's going to do without Jackie, but Jackie has been the liaison to FPWR Canada for this meeting. Thank you. Has been the chair of our fundraising committee and had a major role in planning of the meeting in Cambridge, and we are very, very grateful to her. The last of the board members I want to acknowledge, and then I have one more acknowledgement, is Jenny Heineman, who has been my advisor, my partner, a longtime friend, and has been just fabulous to have on the board. Her connection with PWSA USA and her medical knowledge and her writing ability and so many aspects, she's just been fantastic. And Janely, we're going to miss you greatly. Finally, I'm going to do something that isn't usually done, which is to acknowledge somebody who's not on the board, but has worked tirelessly for IPSO for a long time, and that's Joan Gardner, who was served on our nominating committee for the last 2 conferences and also has helped us enormously in the fundraising arena, and we expect that she will continue to do that. Joan, thank you so much for all you've done for IPSO. Thank you. We are deeply grateful. And well, with that, I want to express my deep gratitude to all of you, and thank you for being here, for staying to the end, and for being such an important and valuable part of IPSO. We look forward to long relationships with you.
Susie, can I just... Can I formally thank the old board for all the work that you have done over the years on behalf of the new board that is now starting this 3 years. Thank you all for all the work, and to say to Cuba how much we look forward to working with you to organize the new conference and to getting to know the lovely country that is Cuba. So thank you.
Thank you. Safe travels, everybody, and thanks for being here.
I'd like to get the rest of the board over here so we can get a picture of all of us old board here, so.
And new board members, we're having a meeting, and also the heads of, Dan, you should attend as well. Should I sit?
Oh, well, yeah, we'll do it. We'll reenact.
Reenact it?
You want to send me a picture, we were too quick. We got everybody, oh, Hubert, Jackie?
Yeah, we'll sit.